The stars outside the observation window looked like scattered diamonds against black velvet. Earth's orbital station, named Unity, floated quietly in the darkness of space. It was the biggest thing humans had ever built. The station was home to 5,000 people and served as the meeting point between Earth and the rest of the galaxy. Commander Vera stood at the window and looked down at the blue planet below. She felt nothing but contempt. These humans were weak creatures. They had soft skin, fragile bones, and only 2 arms. They lived short lives and died easily. Yet somehow, they had managed to reach the stars and build this floating city. Vera was a Kelosi warrior. Her people came from a planet called Kelos Prime, a world of endless storms and violent oceans. The Kelosi had evolved to survive in the harshest conditions. They stood 7 feet tall on average. Their bodies were covered in hard blue scales that could stop a knife. They had 4 arms, each one stronger than a human's entire body. Their eyes could see in complete darkness. Their reflexes were faster than any creature in the known galaxy. But most importantly, the Kelosi were warriors. Fighting was their religion, their art, and their way of life. Every Kelosi child learned to fight before they learned to speak. By the time they reached adulthood, they had already killed in battle. Vera was the best of them all. She had won over 100 duels against the finest warriors of 12 different species. She had never lost. Not once. Her name was spoken with fear across a dozen star systems. When other species saw her blue scales and 4 arms, they knew death had come for them. Today, she was on this human station for a simple reason. The Kelosi Empire wanted to trade with Earth. Humans had something the Kelosi needed, a rare mineral found only in Earth's oceans. In exchange, the Kelosi would share their advanced weapon technology. It should have been a simple negotiation, but Vera was bored. She had been traveling for 3 months to reach this distant corner of the galaxy. She wanted excitement. She wanted a fight. The diplomatic reception was held in the station's grand hall. The room was decorated with flags from every nation on Earth and banners representing the Kelosi Empire. Long tables were covered with food and drinks from both worlds. Soft music played in the background. Vera walked through the crowd like a predator moving through a field of prey. The humans stepped aside when they saw her coming. She could smell their fear. It was a sweet smell, and she enjoyed it very much. The human delegation was led by a man named Park Doyon. He was the Earth Ambassador, a man of 53 years with gray hair at his temples and lines around his eyes. He smiled often and spoke softly. To Vera, he looked like an easy target. Dohyun approached her with a glass of wine in his hand. "Commander Vera," he said with a small bow, "welcome to Unity Station. I hope your journey was pleasant." Vera looked down at him. He was so small. The top of his head barely reached her chest. "It was long," she said. Her voice was deep and rough, like stones grinding together. "Your planet is far from civilization." If Doyen was offended, he did not show it. "Yes, we are rather remote, but we like to think of it as peaceful. There is less conflict out here." "Peace," Vera repeated the word like it tasted bad. "Peace is just another word for weakness. The strong do not need peace. They take what they want." Doyen's smile never changed. "Different cultures have different values, Commander. On Earth, we believe that true strength is shown through cooperation, not conquest." Vera laughed. It was a harsh sound that made several nearby humans flinch. Pretty words from a pretty species. But words cannot stop a blade. The conversation was interrupted by a young human woman carrying a tray of drinks. She was trying to move through the crowd, but she did not see Vera's tail extending behind her. The woman tripped over it and fell forward. Her tray flew from her hands. Red wine splashed across Vira's ceremonial armor. The room went silent. The young woman looked up at Vera with terror in her eyes. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. "I didn't see. I'm so sorry." Vera looked down at the red stain spreading across her white armor. In Kalosi culture, damaging a warrior's ceremonial armor was one of the worst insults possible. It was punishable by death. But this was not Kilos Prime. This was a human station. And Vera saw an opportunity. She reached down and grabbed the young woman by her collar, lifting her off the ground with one arm. The woman screamed. Security guards reached for their weapons, but Do-yoon held up his hand to stop them. "Commander," Do-yoon said calmly, "please release her. It was an accident." "An accident?" Vera's eyes narrowed. "On my world, there are no accidents. There are only insults and consequences." She dropped the woman, who scrambled away on hands and knees. "Your people have dishonored me. I demand satisfaction." Murmurs spread through the crowd. The Kalosi delegation behind Vera smiled with their many teeth. They knew what was coming. "What kind of satisfaction?" Do-hyun asked. "A duel," Vera declared. "Single combat. Your best warrior against me. If I win, your people will apologize publicly and give us the mineral rights for free. If your champion wins—" She smiled. "Well, that will not happen." Do-hyun was silent for a long moment. His face showed no emotion, but his mind was working quickly. He knew that refusing the duel would be seen as weakness. The Kalosi might end negotiations entirely. Or worse, they might see Earth as easy prey for conquest. But accepting meant sending someone to fight this monster. Someone who would almost certainly die. "Commander," Do-hyun said slowly, "dueling is not a common practice on Earth. We settle our disagreements with words and laws." "Then you are cowards," Vera said simply. "And cowards do not deserve respect. If you refuse my challenge, the Kalosi Empire will know that humans are nothing but frightened children hiding behind their technology." The Kalosi delegation laughed. Several humans in the crowd looked angry, but they stayed silent. What could they say? What could they do against creatures that were faster, stronger, and more deadly than any human? Do-hyun took a deep breath. Then he did something that surprised everyone in the room. He bowed. "Commander Vera," he said, "on behalf of Earth and the human race, I accept your challenge." Vera's eyes widened slightly. She had not expected acceptance. Most species begged for mercy when faced with Kalosi warriors. But this small man with his gray hair and gentle smile had accepted without hesitation. "You accept?" she repeated. "I do, but we will need time to prepare." "Say, one day?" Vera studied the human's face. There was no fear there, only calm determination. It was strange. It was interesting. "Very well," she said. "You have until tomorrow at dawn. Bring your best warrior to the station's arena and tell them to say goodbye to their loved ones." She leaned close to Do-hyun, her 3 rows of teeth inches from his face. "Because they will not be returning home." Do-hyun did not step back. He did not flinch. He simply nodded. "Until tomorrow, Commander." Vera turned and walked away, her delegation following behind her. The crowd parted like water before a ship. After she was gone, the room exploded with worried voices. "What have you done?" one of the diplomats demanded. "Who can possibly fight that thing?" "She's killed over 100 opponents," another said. "Warriors from 12 species. She's undefeated." Do-hyun raised his hand for silence. When the room was quiet, he spoke. "Please, everyone, stay calm. We have 1 day. That is more than enough time." "For what?" someone asked. "To find someone willing to die?" Do-hyun smiled. It was a strange smile, full of secrets. "No, he said, "to find someone willing to teach Commander Vera a lesson she will never forget." He turned to his assistant, a young man named Lee Tiemann. "Contact Master Yoon. Tell her we need her." Tiemann's eyes went wide. "You mean—" "Yes," Do-Yoon said. "It's time for the commander to meet a real warrior." Outside the observation window, Earth continued to spin slowly in the darkness. And somewhere on that blue planet, a woman received a message that would change everything. The challenge had been made. The game had begun. The shuttle from Earth arrived at Unity Station just before midnight. Only a few people knew about its passenger. Ambassador Park Do-Hyun waited at the docking bay with his assistant Lee Tiemann and 3 security guards. They stood in silence as the shuttle's doors opened. The woman who stepped out was not what anyone expected. Yoon Hana was 32 years old. She had long black hair tied back in a simple ponytail. Her face was calm and gentle, with soft brown eyes that seemed to look through people rather than at them. She stood 5 feet and 6 inches tall and weighed about 60 kilograms. She wore a simple gray jacket over a white shirt and black pants. No armor, no weapons, nothing that suggested she was a warrior. She looked like a schoolteacher, or maybe a librarian. Tiemann leaned toward Do-Yoon. "Sir," he whispered, "are you sure about this?" "She's small." Do-Hyun smiled. "Size means nothing, Tiemann. You will understand soon." Hana walked toward them with quiet steps. Her movements were smooth and easy, like water flowing over stones. When she reached Do-Yoon, she bowed respectfully. "Ambassador Park," she said. Her voice was soft but clear. "Thank you for the invitation." "Master Yoon," Do-Yoon replied, bowing in return. "Thank you for coming on such short notice. I know you prefer to stay away from situations like this." Hana nodded. "I was teaching a class of children when your message came. They were very disappointed that I had to leave." Tiemann stared at her. "You teach children?" "Yes, mostly basic self-defense. It helps them build confidence." She smiled gently. "They are good students, very eager to learn." One of the security guards shifted uncomfortably. "Excuse me, ma'am, but do you understand what you're facing tomorrow? Commander Vera is a Kilosi warrior. She's 7 feet tall with 4 arms. She's killed over 100 opponents in combat. She's never been defeated." Hana looked at the guard. Her eyes were peaceful, like a still pond on a windless day. "Yes," she said simply. "I understand. And you're still willing to fight?" "I am willing to do what is necessary to protect Earth's honor," Hana replied. "That is why I came." Do-Hyun stepped forward. "We should go to the briefing room. There is much to discuss and little time." The group walked through the station's corridors. It was late, and most of the residents were asleep. The hallways were quiet and empty. Their footsteps echoed softly against the metal floors. In the briefing room, a team of scientists and military advisors was waiting. Large screens on the walls showed images of Kilosi warriors. There were diagrams of their bodies, charts showing their physical abilities, and videos of past duels. Hana sat down and watched the videos carefully. She saw Kilosi warriors fighting against other species. She saw how fast they moved, how hard they hit, how their 4 arms attacked from multiple directions at once. She saw opponents fall in seconds, their bodies broken and bleeding. "The Kilosi are physically superior to humans in almost every way," said Dr. Kim Junha, the team's lead scientist. She pointed at the diagrams on the screen. "They are approximately 3 times faster than the average human. Their strength is 5 times greater. Their scales can resist most blade weapons, and their bones are nearly unbreakable. Additionally," she continued, "they have several biological advantages. 2 hearts provide them with greater endurance. Their eyes can see in complete darkness. Their tail is a fifth limb that can strike with devastating force. Another advisor spoke up. We've analyzed Commander Vera's past duels. She favors an aggressive opening attack, using all four arms simultaneously to overwhelm her opponent. Most of her victories come in the first 10 seconds of combat. She's also extremely confident, Tiemann added. Maybe even overconfident. She doesn't expect humans to be a real threat. Hannah nodded slowly, her eyes never leaving the screen. Show me the videos again. Slower this time. For the next 3 hours, Hannah watched every available recording of Colossi combat. She asked questions about their anatomy. She studied their movements, their patterns, their habits. Dr. Kim provided detailed information about nerve clusters, joint weaknesses, and pressure points in the Colossi body. There are 17 nerve clusters that, if struck precisely, can cause temporary paralysis, Dr. Kim explained. But the window of opportunity is extremely small. You would need to hit within a margin of about 2 centimeters. And their joints? Hannah asked. Their elbow joints are actually weaker than their other joints. An impact at the correct angle could temporarily disable an arm. But again, the precision required is, I understand. Hannah stood up and stretched. Is there a training room I can use? Do-young nodded. Of course. But don't you want to rest? The duel is in 6 hours. Hannah shook her head. I need to practice. My body must remember what my mind has learned. The training room was equipped with advanced holographic technology. The system could create realistic simulations of any opponent. Hannah programmed it to generate a Colossi warrior with Commander Vera's fighting style. For the next 4 hours, she trained. She moved through the simulated attacks like a ghost. She ducked and weaved and spun. She struck at targets smaller than a coin. She practiced the same movements over and over until they became automatic, until her muscles knew exactly what to do without thinking. Tiemann watched from the observation deck with growing amazement. He had never seen anyone move like this. Hannah was not fast in the way the Colossi were fast. She did not have superhuman speed or strength. But she had something else. Something harder to define. She had perfect efficiency. Every movement she made was exactly right. There was no wasted energy, no unnecessary motion. When she stepped exactly where she needed to be. When she struck exactly where it would do the most damage. It was like watching a master artist paint, each stroke perfect and precise. What is she? Tiemann whispered to Do-young. She is a master of several martial arts, Do-young replied. Hapkido, Taekyon, Aikido, and others. She has been training since she was 9 years old. 23 years of constant practice. But the Colossi are so much faster. Do-young smiled. Speed is not everything, Tiemann. In martial arts, we have a saying, the slow knife cuts deepest. Master Yoon may not be faster than Commander Vera, but she does not need to be. She only needs to be in the right place at the right time. At 5 in the morning, Hannah finally stopped training. She sat in the center of the room in a meditation pose, her eyes closed, her breathing slow and steady. For 30 minutes, she did not move. She was preparing her mind as carefully as she had prepared her body. When she opened her eyes, they were clear and calm. I am ready, she said. The arena was located in the center of Unity Station. It was a large circular room with seats for spectators rising up on all sides. The floor was made of special material that could absorb impact without breaking. Large screens showed the arena from every angle so that everyone could see clearly. By dawn, the arena was full. Thousands of humans had come to watch. They filled every seat and stood in every available space. Their faces showed fear, worry, and doubt. They had seen the videos of Colossi warriors. They knew what Commander Vera could do. But they had also heard stories about the human champion, Rumors had spread through the station overnight. Some said she was a legendary fighter. Others said she was just a teacher who had volunteered for certain death. On one side of the arena, the Kelosi delegation waited. Commander Vera stood in the center, her blue scales gleaming under the lights. She had painted red symbols on her face, traditional marks of Kelosi warriors before battle. Her forearms stretched and flexed, showing off muscles like steel cables. On the other side, the human delegation gathered. Ambassador Park Doyen stood at the front, his face calm and confident. Behind him, his staff looked considerably less sure. Then the doors opened, and Yoon Hana walked in. The crowd went silent. She wore simple training clothes, loose white pants, a fitted white top. No armor, no weapons. Her feet were bare. Her black hair was tied back and her face was peaceful. She looked tiny compared to the massive alien warrior. Commander Vera laughed. The sound echoed through the arena like thunder. "This?" she said, pointing at Hana. "This is your champion?" "This little female." Murmurs spread through the crowd. Even some of the humans looked doubtful. "Master Yoon Hana has trained in martial arts for 23 years, though Yoon replied calmly. She volunteered to represent humanity. Volunteered for death, you mean? Vera stepped forward, her forearms spreading wide. Each arm ended in claws that looked sharp enough to cut through steel. "I will try to make it quick, little human. As a kindness." Hana walked to the center of the arena. She stopped about 10 meters from Vera and bowed. It was a deep, respectful bow, the kind given to an honored opponent. "Commander Vera," she said in her soft, clear voice, "thank you for this opportunity. I hope we can both learn something today." Vera's eyes narrowed. She had been expecting fear. She had been expecting begging, crying, trembling. Instead, this tiny human woman was thanking her. It was strange. "Learn something?" Vera repeated. "The only lesson here is that humans are weak. And after I kill you, everyone will know it." Hana simply smiled. "Perhaps. Or perhaps you will learn that strength comes in many forms." The arena master stepped forward. He was a neutral observer from a third species, chosen to ensure fairness. He explained the rules. Her forearms shook forward in a deadly pattern. The upper left went high, aiming for Hana's head. The upper right swept toward her neck. The lower arms attacked low, going for the legs and stomach. It was an attack designed to overwhelm any opponent. There was no way to block 4 strikes at once. There was no way to escape when attacks came from every direction. This attack had killed 30 opponents in the first second of combat. Warriors from a dozen species had fallen to this opening move. It was perfect. It was unstoppable. Hana was not there. She had moved. Not backward, not sideways, but at an angle that should have been impossible. Her body twisted in a way that seemed to bend the rules of physics. Vera's claws cut through empty air where Hana had been standing just a moment before. The crowd gasped. Vir spun, confused. Her eyes searched for her opponent. She found Hana standing 2 meters to her right, calm and relaxed, as if she had simply taken a casual step. "You are fast," Hana said quietly. "But speed without purpose is just motion." Anger flashed in Vera's eyes. No one had ever dodged her opening attack. No one had ever spoken to her like this during combat. She attacked again, this time faster, harder. Her claws slashed through the air in deadly arcs. Her tail whipped around, trying to catch Hana from behind. She used every technique she had learned in 50 years of training. She moved at speeds that would have been invisible to ordinary human eyes. But Hana was always somewhere else. She did not move with the same blazing speed as Vera. Instead, she seemed to know where the attacks would come before they arrived. She shifted her weight, turned her body, took small steps that put her just out of reach. It was like watching someone dance with a storm. The storm raged and roared, but the dancer remained untouched in the observation seats. Dr. Kim Juna watched with wide eyes. She leaned toward Ambassador Park Do-hyun. How is she doing this? The scientist whispered. The Kelosi reflexes should be 3 times faster than any humans. Master Yoon should not be able to react in time. Do-hyun smiled. She's not reacting, he explained. She is predicting. Watch her eyes. She's reading Commander Vera's body, seeing the attacks before they happen. By the time Vera's arm moves, Master Yoon already knows where it will go. On the arena floor, Vera was growing frustrated. Sweat dripped from her scales. Her breathing was becoming heavy. She had never worked this hard in a duel before. Usually, her opponents were dead or defeated within the first minute. But 5 minutes had passed, and she had not landed a single hit. Stand still, Vera roared. Fight me properly. Hannah tilted her head slightly. I am fighting properly. You are simply not hitting me. The Kelosi commander screamed in rage. She launched her most powerful attack yet. All 4 arms struck together, combining into a single devastating blow that could crush rock. Her tail swept low at the same time, cutting off any escape route. For a moment, it looked like there was nowhere for Hannah to go. The crowd held their breath. The Kelosi delegation smiled with their many teeth. This was it. The human would finally fall, but Hannah did not try to escape. Instead, she moved forward. She stepped inside Vera's guard, so close that the claws passed over her shoulders. She was now chest to chest with the towering alien warrior. For a brief second, their eyes met. Vera saw no fear in those brown human eyes. She saw only calm focused. Then Hannah's palm struck Vera's lower left elbow. It was not a hard strike. To an outside observer, it looked gentle, almost soft. But the impact was precisely placed, hitting the nerve cluster that Dr. Kim had identified during the briefing. The effect was immediate. Vera's lower left arm went numb. Completely numb. She could not move it. She could not feel it. It hung at her side like a dead thing. The Kelosi commander stumbled backward in shock. What? What did you do? Hannah settled back into her relaxed stance. Your species has 17 nerve clusters that can cause temporary paralysis when struck correctly. That was the first one. Vera stared at her useless arm. In her entire life, no opponent had ever managed to hurt her. Her scales were supposed to be armor. Her body was supposed to be unbreakable. But this tiny human had disabled one of her limbs with a single touch. Impossible, Vera whispered in the crowd. The humans began to murmur with excitement. Something was happening that they had never expected. Their champion was not losing. She was not even getting hurt. She was fighting back. Lee Taman grabbed Do-hyun's arm. She's actually doing it. She's actually competing. Not competing, Do-hyun corrected him. Teaching. Vera's arm slowly regained feeling. The numbness faded after about 30 seconds. She flexed her claws, making sure everything still worked. When she looked at Hannah again, there was something new in her eyes. It was not fear. Kelosi warriors did not feel fear. But it was something close. It was respect. You have some skill, Vera admitted. But one lucky hit will not save you. I still have 3 arms and a tail. And now I know what you can do. Do you? Hannah asked softly. I wonder. Vera attacked again. This time, she was more careful. She did not commit fully to her strikes. She kept her arms guarded, protecting the nerve clusters. She moved in a circle around Hannah, looking for an opening. But Hannah matched her movement for movement. She turned with Vera, always keeping the alien in front of her. Her eyes never blinked. Her breathing remained slow and steady. They danced like this for another minute. Attack and dodge. Strike and slip. It was like watching a violent conversation. Each movement a word, each exchange a sentence. Then Vera saw her chance. Hana's weight shifted slightly to the left. It was a tiny mistake, barely noticeable. But to a warrior of Vera's experience, it was an opening. She lunged forward, her upper right arm slashing toward Hana's exposed side. But the weight shift had not been a mistake. It had been an invitation. Hana pivoted on her left foot. Her body rotated like a door swinging on its hinges. Vera's arm passed through empty space. And as the Colossi commander flew past, off balance and exposed, Hana's fingertips touched the base of her neck. It was the softest touch imaginable, like a feather landing on skin. But it hit the nerve cluster at the top of the spine, the one that controlled the right side of the body. Vera crashed to the ground, her right side completely paralyzed. She tried to push herself up with her left arms, but she could barely move. Half of her body had simply stopped working. The crowd erupted. Humans jumped to their feet, cheering and shouting. They could not believe what they were seeing. Their champion, this small woman in simple clothes, was winning. She was actually winning. The Colossi delegation fell silent. Their smiles had disappeared. They stared at the arena floor with shock and confusion. Hana stepped back and waited. She did not attack while Vera was down. She simply stood there, patient and calm, giving her opponent time to recover. Slowly, the feeling returned to Vera's body. She pushed herself up with shaking arms. When she stood, her legs were unsteady. She looked at Hana with new eyes. "Who are you?" Vera asked. Her voice was different now. The arrogance was gone. In its place was genuine curiosity. "What are you?" "I am just a human," Hana replied. "A human who has spent her whole life learning how to fight." "This is not fighting," Vera said. "This is something else. I have trained since I was a child. I have studied 17 combat disciplines. I have defeated the greatest warriors in the galaxy. But I cannot touch you." Hana nodded slowly. "On my world, we have a saying, know yourself, know your enemy, and you will win 100 battles. You know yourself very well, Commander. You know your strength, your speed, your techniques. But you do not know me. You do not know humans. That is why you are losing." Vera's hands clenched into fists. She was not ready to accept defeat. She was a Colossi warrior. She had never lost. She would not lose now, not to this creature half her size with no claws or scales or tail. "The fight is not over," Vera growled. Hana's expression did not change. "No," she agreed. "It is not over. But Commander, I should warn you, I have been holding back. I did not want to hurt you permanently. But if you continue, I may not be able to control how much damage I do." Vera laughed. It was a harsh sound, but there was something uncertain in it now. "Holding back? You expect me to believe that?" "Believe what you wish," Hana said. "But consider this. I have struck you twice. Both times, I chose non-lethal targets. There are places on your body where a single strike would stop your hearts. There are nerves that, if damaged, would leave you paralyzed forever. I know where all of them are." She paused, letting her words sink in. "I came here to defend human honor, Commander. Not to kill you. But if you force my hand, I will do what I must." For a long moment, the arena was silent. Everyone watched, waiting to see what Commander Vera would do. The Colossi warrior looked at this small human woman. She thought about everything that had happened. She thought about how easily Hana had avoided her attacks, how precisely she had struck, how calmly she had spoken about lethal techniques. And for the first time in her life, Commander Vera felt something she had never felt before. Doubt. She pushed the feeling down. She was a warrior. She did not doubt. She did not fear. She attacked. Commander Vera abandoned all technique. She abandoned all strategy. She abandoned everything she had learned in 50 years of training and did something she had never done before in combat. She went wild. Her forearms became a storm of claws and strikes. Her tail whipped back and forth like a living weapon. She did not aim for specific targets. She did not look for openings. She simply attacked with everything she had, using her superior strength and speed to overwhelm her opponent through sheer force. If she could not outsmart this human, she would crush her. It was that simple. The crowd watched in horror as the Colossi warrior became a blur of violence. Even the cameras had trouble tracking her movements. She was a tornado of blue scales and sharp claws, spinning and striking and slashing without pause. No creature could survive such an attack. No living thing could dodge so many strikes coming from so many directions. It was physically impossible. But Yunhana was not trying to dodge. She was flowing. In the martial arts Hana had studied, there was a concept called harmony. It meant moving with an attack instead of against it. Like a leaf carried by the wind. Like water flowing around a rock. The force was not blocked or stopped. It was redirected, turned aside, sent somewhere else. Vera's claws cut the air inches from Hana's face. Her tail swept past Hana's legs by centimeters. Every strike came so close to hitting, but never actually connected. Hana moved through the storm like a ghost, untouchable and serene. And she was not just surviving. She was learning. Every time Vera attacked, Hana gathered information. She watched how the Colossi's weight shifted before each strike. She noticed which muscles tensed before the tail whipped. She tracked the patterns in Vera's breathing, the small sounds she made before big movements. After 30 seconds of wild attacking, Hana knew everything she needed to know. She made her move. As Vera's upper right arm came down in a devastating overhead strike, Hana stepped forward and to the left. Her shoulder pressed against Vera's hip. Her hands caught the attacking arm at the wrist and elbow. Then she turned her body, using Vera's own force against her. The 7-foot Colossi warrior flew through the air. She crashed into the arena floor with enough force to crack the special impact-absorbing material. The sound echoed through the stadium like thunder. The crowd gasped. The Colossi delegation stood up in shock. Vera lay on her back, staring at the ceiling. She could not understand what had just happened. She was 3 times this human size. She was 5 times stronger. How had she been thrown like a child's toy? She tried to get up, but her body was not responding properly. The impact had rattled her bones and scrambled her senses. When she finally managed to roll onto her stomach and push herself up, she saw Hana standing a few meters away, waiting patiently. "How?" Vera demanded. Her voice was rough with confusion and exhaustion. "How did you do that? You cannot be stronger than me. It is not possible." "I am not stronger than you," Hana replied calmly. "I used your strength against you. When you attacked with all your power, I simply redirected that power. Your own force through you, not mine." Vera's mind struggled to understand. In Colossi culture, strength was everything. The stronger warrior won. It was the most basic truth of combat. But this human had found a way around that truth. She had turned strength into weakness. "This is not real fighting," Vera said, getting to her feet. "This is tricks and deception." A true warrior faces her enemy directly. Hana tilted her head. "Why?" The question surprised Vera. "What do you mean, why?" "Because that is what warriors do. We test our strength against each other. The strongest wins. That is how it has always been." "For your species, perhaps," Hana said, "but not for mine. Humans have never been the strongest creatures on our world. We were not the fastest. We did not have claws or fangs or armor. For most of our history, we were prey. She began to walk slowly around the arena, and Vera turned to keep her in sight. But we survived, Hana continued. We survived by being clever, by learning, by adapting. When we faced an enemy we could not defeat with strength, we found another way. We invented tools. We developed techniques. We studied our enemies until we understood them better than they understood themselves. She stopped walking and looked directly at Vera. You have had 4 arms since birth. You have had speed and strength and natural weapons. Everything was given to you. But humans have had to earn everything we have. Every skill, every technique, every advantage. We built ourselves from nothing. Vera listened to these words. They went against everything she believed about strength and combat and what it meant to be a warrior. But she could not deny what was happening in this arena. She could not deny that this small, soft creature was defeating her. The night before this duel, Hana said, while you slept, I was studying. I watched videos of Kilosi warriors. I learned your anatomy from scientists. I practiced fighting holographic simulations of your species. In one night, I learned how to fight you. She let those words sink in. That is what humans do, Commander. We learn, we adapt, we find ways. Given enough time and information, we can solve almost any problem, including you. Vera felt something crack inside her. Not a bone or a muscle, but something deeper. It was her confidence, her certainty that physical strength was all that mattered, her belief that Kilosi warriors were the greatest fighters in the galaxy. She had been wrong about so many things, but she was still a warrior. She still had her pride, and she was not ready to surrender. Pretty words, Vera growled, forcing herself into a fighting stance despite her exhaustion. But the fight is not over. I can still win. I can still kill you. Hannah's expression did not change. Yes, she agreed. You could kill me. If you landed a clean hit, I would die. Human bodies are fragile. One good strike from your claws would end my life. Then why do you not look afraid? Because, Hana said, you will not land that hit. Vera roared and charged. This time, there was no wild storm of attacks. There was a single, focused strike. Vera put everything she had into one perfect thrust, her upper right arm shooting forward like a spear, aimed directly at Hana's heart. Hana did not dodge. Instead, she reached up and touched Vera's arm. Just a light touch on the inside of the wrist. The arm went off course, sliding past Hana's shoulder. At the same time, Hana's other hand pressed against Vera's chest. The push was gentle. It should not have done anything to a creature of Vera's size and strength. But Hana pushed at exactly the right moment, when Vera was off balance from her missed strike. The Kilosi warrior stumbled forward, her legs tangling together. Before Vera could recover, Hana moved behind her. Her foot swept Vera's ankle. Her hands pushed at the small of Vera's back. And just like that, the greatest warrior of the Kilosi Empire fell face first onto the arena floor. This time, before Vera could get up, she felt something pressing against her back. She twisted her head and saw Hana standing over her, one foot positioned directly over her primary heart. Yield, Hana said. It was not a question. It was not a demand. It was simply a statement of fact. Vera struggled, but she could barely move. She was exhausted. Her muscles burned. Her scales were scratched and cracked. And every time she tried to shift position, Hana's foot pressed down a little harder, reminding her of what could happen. You cannot kill me with that, Vera said, trying to sound confident. Human legs are not strong enough to pierce my scales. You are correct, Hana agreed. But I do not need to pierce your scales. The nerve cluster beneath them is sensitive to pressure. If I press hard enough, I can stop your heart without breaking your skin." Vera went still. She looked into Hana's calm brown eyes and saw no lie there. This human knew exactly what she was doing. She had planned for this moment. She had prepared for every possibility. For the first time in her life, Commander Vera was truly defeated. The arena was completely silent. Thousands of spectators held their breath, waiting to see what would happen next. The Kelosi delegation stood frozen in shock. The human delegation looked on with hope and disbelief. Ambassador Park Do-hyun watched from his seat with a small smile on his face. He had known this moment would come. He had believed in Master Yoon from the beginning. But even he was surprised by how complete the victory was. On the arena floor, Vera closed her eyes. She thought about her life. She thought about all the battles she had fought, all the enemies she had defeated, all the glory she had earned. She thought about her pride and her honor and her unshakable belief in Kelosi superiority. And she made a choice. When she opened her eyes, they were different. The arrogance was gone. The anger was gone. There was only acceptance. "I yield," Vera said. The words echoed through the silent arena. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the crowd erupted. Humans jumped to their feet, cheering and crying and hugging each other. The sound was deafening. People who had come expecting to watch their species be humiliated were instead celebrating the greatest upset in galactic history. A human had defeated a Kelosi warrior. A small woman with no weapons or armor had beaten the undefeated champion of a dozen worlds. Everything had changed. Hana removed her foot from Vera's back and stepped away. Then she did something that surprised everyone watching. She offered her hand. Vera stared at the outstretched hand. In Kelosi culture, the winner of a duel would stand over the loser and declare their victory. They would boast about their strength and skill. They would make the loser admit their weakness in front of everyone. But this human was offering help. She was treating Vera not as a defeated enemy, but as something else. Something Vera did not have a word for. After a long moment, Vera reached up and took Hana's hand. The human's grip was firm, but gentle. She helped Vera stand, supporting the exhausted warrior until she found her balance. "Thank you," Hana said softly. "For a good fight." Vera looked at her with confusion. "You are thanking me? I challenged you. I tried to kill you. I insulted your entire species." "Yes," Hana agreed. "But you also gave me an opportunity to show what humans can do. And you fought with honor. You did not try to cheat. You did not use weapons against an unarmed opponent. You faced me directly, warrior to warrior. That deserves respect." Respect. Another concept that seems strange in this context. On Kelos Prime, respect was earned through dominance and fear. But Hana was talking about a different kind of respect. One that was given freely, even to enemies. The crowd was still cheering, but the sound seemed distant to Vera. She was too focused on the small woman standing in front of her. So many questions filled her mind. How? Vera asked finally, "How did you defeat me?" "I am faster, stronger. I have 4 arms. I have trained my entire life. You have only 2 arms and soft skin, and a body that could break with a single hit. How is this possible?" Hana considered the question carefully. This was the moment she had been waiting for. Not the victory itself, but this. The chance to explain. The chance to teach. "Commander," she began, "humans are not the strongest creatures on our planet. We were not even close to the strongest. For most of our history, we shared our world with animals that could tear us apart with ease. Tigers, bears, wolves. We were small and weak, and slow compared to them." She paused, making sure Vera was listening. "But we survived. We did not survive by being stronger. We survived by being smarter. We learn to use tools. We learn to work together. We learn to study our enemies and find their weaknesses. And most importantly, we learn to never give up. Vera nodded slowly. She had seen this during the fight. The humans' willingness to keep going, to keep trying, even when facing impossible odds. On Earth, Hana continued, we have developed hundreds of fighting styles over thousands of years. Each style was created to solve a specific problem. How does a small person defeat a larger one? How does a weaker warrior beat a stronger one? How do you win when you have every disadvantage? She smiled gently. The answer is different for each style, but they all share one thing in common. They turn weakness into strength. My size is not a disadvantage. It is an advantage. I am smaller, so I am harder to hit. I am lighter, so I can move more easily. And because I do not have natural weapons like your claws, I have learned to use every part of my body as a weapon. Vera thought about her own training. She had been taught to use her natural advantages. Her strength, her speed, her claws. But she had never been taught to fight without them. She had never needed to. You said you studied me, Vera said, in one night. How is that possible? My species has been training warriors for 10,000 years. How can one night of study compete with that? Because I was not learning to be a Kelossi warrior, Hana explained. I was learning to fight a Kelossi warrior. Those are very different things. You know everything about how to use your body, but I learned everything about how to stop your body. Where your nerves are, where your joints are weak, where your balance can be broken. I did not need to know how to be you. I only needed to know how to defeat you. This was perhaps the most important lesson. The humans had not tried to compete with the Colossi on their own terms. They had changed the terms entirely. They had made the fight about something other than raw physical ability. Ambassador Park Do-yoon walked onto the arena floor. He approached the two warriors with a calm smile on his face. Commander Vera, he said, I hope there are no hard feelings. On Earth, we believe that honorable combat between warriors can lead to mutual understanding and respect. Vera looked at the small human diplomat. Earlier today, she had thought him weak and foolish. Now, she saw something different. She saw a man who had complete confidence in his people. A man who had accepted her challenge without fear because he knew what humans were capable of. There are no hard feelings, Vera said slowly. I challenged. I fought. I lost. That is the way of things. She paused, then added something she had never said in her entire life. I was wrong about your species. The words were difficult to say, but they were true. And Kelossi warriors did not hide from the truth. Do-yoon's smile widened. Perhaps this can be a new beginning. Your people and ours, learning from each other instead of fighting each other. Vera thought about this. Her people valued strength above all else. They believed the strong should rule and the weak should serve. But if strength alone was not enough, if cleverness and adaptability and determination could overcome raw power, then perhaps the Kelossi had something to learn. I would like that, Vera said. I think my people have been alone in their thinking for too long. We have much to learn from humans. She turned to Hana. The small woman stood quietly, her hands clasped in front of her, watching with those peaceful brown eyes. Master Yoon, Vera said, I wish to ask you something. Yes, Commander? Would you teach me? The question surprised everyone in the arena. Murmurs spread through the crowd. The Kelossi delegation exchanged shocked looks. No Kelossi warrior had ever asked an alien to teach them anything. It was unthinkable, but Vera was not thinking about tradition or pride anymore. She was thinking about the future, about what she could become if she learned what this human knew. Hana bowed deeply. I would be honored, Commander. True strength, I believe, is found in learning. From anyone. About anything. There is always more to know. Vera returned the bow. It was awkward. Her body was not designed for such movements, but she tried her best. Then I have one more question, Vera said. Yes? What is the first lesson? Hannah smiled. It was a warm smile, full of kindness and patience. The smile of a teacher who had found a worthy student. The first lesson, she said, is this. The greatest warriors are not those who never lose. They are those who lose and get up again. Those who face their weakness and turn it into strength. Those who are humble enough to learn from anyone, even their enemies. She placed her hand on Vera's arm. You could have given up during our fight. You could have yielded at the first sign of trouble. But you kept trying. You kept fighting. Even when you knew you might lose, you did not surrender until there was truly no other choice. That is courage. That is the heart of a true warrior. Vera felt something shift inside her. The crack that had formed in her confidence began to fill with something new. Not the old arrogance. Something better. Something deeper. Understanding. She had come to this station as a conqueror, certain of her superiority, certain that humans were nothing but weak creatures waiting to be dominated. She was leaving as something else. A student. A bridge between two peoples. A warrior who had learned the most important lesson of all. Strength without wisdom is just violence. True power comes from knowing when to fight, when to yield, and when to learn. The trade negotiations continued over the following days. But they were different now. The Kelosi delegates no longer looked at the humans with contempt. They looked at them with curiosity and respect. And the humans no longer feared their alien visitors. When Commander Vera's fleet finally left Earth's orbit, she carried more than trade agreements with her. She carried books about human philosophy and martial arts. She carried recordings of Hannah's teachings. And she carried a new purpose, to share what she had learned with her people. On the observation deck of Unity Station, Hannah watched the Kelosi ships disappear into the darkness of space. Ambassador Park Do-hyun stood beside her. Do you think she will change things? Do-hyun asked. Among her people? Hannah thought about it. I do not know. Change is always difficult, especially for proud peoples. But Commander Vera has a warrior's heart. Once she commits to something, she does not stop. If she believes this is the right path, she will walk it to the end. And if the Kelosi do not want to change, Hannah smiled softly. Then we will keep teaching. Keep showing them. Keep demonstrating that there is more than one kind of strength. Eventually, they will understand. She turned away from the window and began walking toward the shuttle bay. She had a class of children waiting for her back on Earth. They would be eager to hear about her adventure. Master Yoon, Do-hyun called after her. Thank you. For everything. Hannah paused and looked back over her shoulder. Thank me by building a better future, Ambassador. That is what this victory was for. Not glory, not pride, but hope. Hope that humans and Kelosi and all the other species in this galaxy can learn to live together in peace. She bowed one final time and walked away outside the window. The stars continued their ancient dance. And somewhere among them, a Kelosi warrior was beginning to write the first chapter of a new history, one where strength and wisdom walked.